Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. I'm Pterodactyl. Welcome to the Pterodactyl channel. I also go by Mary Brown. Kind of more plain than Pterodactyl. I watched Sun Willow's segment right before me, and oh, I love that. And thank you so much. I'm glad everybody gets a kick out of the name, but I'm so thrilled to be a part of the Tarothon. I've never done this before. And I'm such a big fan of Simon's channel, The Hermit's Cave. And I'm just, much gratitude for allowing me to be a part of this amazing global tarot event. And I cannot believe that people are actually here. It's midnight where I am. I don't know what time it is where you are. But my goodness, I'm, this is, I'm just really grateful. I'm glad everybody that's here could be here. And yeah, so my topic today is speed reading the tarot. And I thought to myself, well, gee, that sounds a little cheeky, what do I mean? Is that insulting? And so, I feel like that doesn't mean that we're not going to take our due diligence, and that we're not going to have an in-depth knowledge and in-depth understanding of the tarot. And at the same time, here's the deal. What I do for a living, I work full time as a tarot reader. I've been doing this now since 2012. 2012 is when I started doing it full time. I was doing it part time up to then, kind of on the side, as along with a crazy full time job as an entertainment journalist in Hollywood. And you know, I went through this really weird moment, right, where worlds collided, and I was working for what we call Parade Magazine. You might be familiar with it. I think people line their bird cages with it, to tell you the truth. It's like a free insert magazine. And I had to interview John Edward, the famous psychic. He had that show called Crossing Over or whatever. And he had a book that came out called something. I think it was like Infinite you something, or universe. You know what, I'm gonna have to go back and remember what book that was. But the thing was it was just an assignment for me to do an interview. And he had, and I at that time had been reading part, tarot on the side, friends, family, that kind of thing. And then, for other people, since I was 15, when I was first introduced to it. And he had this whole huge segment on tarot in his book, and I did not expect that from him, because I just thought of him as a psychic. The guy that's, you probably saw the show. He'd sit there on camera and he would go, okay, is there an A or a B or a C? That kind of TV show. He had this huge, incredibly intense section on tarot, and you must learn it, you must study it, don't think you can just be flippant about it. It was strange. It was like chastising the way that it was written. And I thought, okay, well, geez, I better buckle down. I've been doing this intuitive reading, how dare I? And so I embarked on my journey of tarot. And I think we all have that moment that sent us down into the depths of learning and understanding tarot. And my goodness, I call it tarot the gateway, kind of like a gateway drug, right? Where once you enter into that world, then, oh my goodness, all the correspondences, all the corresponding systems, astrology, numerology, the tree of life from Kabbalah, it can go on and on and on. You can take it all the way down to crystals and essential oils and everything. And you can get as deep as you want with tarot. I think we're all here today, right? And man, what a incredible lineup of shows that and topics and everything. And I'm so happy to be introduced to all of this and all of you. And the big thing for me was, tarot's a lifetime pursuit. It certainly can be. And, we may, call ourselves tarot masters, but, the attraction for me is it's something that you never fully master. But what I was running into, because I'm vice president of certification for the Tarot Guild, and I teach tarot on the side, what I'm running into is people who have spent years studying tarot, and that they, oh man, they're good, they're great, they really know their stuff. But when it comes to doing readings for others, there's something that kind of, there's a disconnect, and people can get tripped up. People that know what they're doing and have a wonderful knowledge and understanding of it. And that kind of frustrated me a bit, because what I do is why we do certification there anyways, is because we want to help people who this means so much to them, that they want to do it as a career path, and you know I feel like it's a confidence issue, so to me that's like step one. That's the number one thing. How are we able to speed read tarot? And what I mean is, somebody can book a reading with you, and you can give them a reading, give them an answer as they ask their questions. You can not take up like an hour of time to just do a reading that's going to be um, really what they need. And I think also that lack of confidence is what takes time. That's what I figured out, that what was taking time, what was making me kind of freeze at times, or kind of like, oh, going through the Rolodex in my head of like, okay, what's the astrological symbol? What does this mean? Is there a yod on this card? Like all of that space junk that is so rare and beautiful and valuable knowledge to have and applicable all the time. You can't, in a reading with Joe Schmo off the street, who is just a lovely man, but he doesn't know about any old esoteric symbols. He doesn't know anything about, all this other stuff. He just wants to know, what's happening on the job, man. Do I still have my job? Should I be looking elsewhere? Am I going to get that call for an interview? Those kind of questions. All of that incredible knowledge doesn't address them, and it doesn't address them in a timely manner, or one that can have meaning and make sense for somebody. And the thing is, I enjoy so much when I can get an esoteric reading like that from another reader. I mean, it's just it's a soul satisfying kind of thing for me. But I find that the people that I read for, they're lay people a lot of times, and so I had to, I reached the point that this was now my career path, and this is what I wanted to do. This is what I kind of felt like I was doing in so many other jobs anyway, where you wind up giving advice, and in addition to being the legal secretary or whatever your gig is, there's always this level of advice that happens, I think, to a lot of us who work in the intuitive arts or divination or tarot readers. And so I didn't want to be limited. And because of that, I made the choice to read for a reading service. And with that, it's been like just I've had a wonderful experience. Not everybody does, but I've had just a wonderful, rich experience from it. And I would love that to be accessible to other people in a way, and that fits them, that resonates with them, if that resonates with them. And the other part of it, was that when we talk about doing readings for other people, right? We'll get to the reading technique a little bit. I don't know if it's a technique. I almost feel like it's a way of life, but the thing that can happen is that we can kind of not be so solid and so centered and so grounded in what we're doing in our work, to the point where like we can think we are, and then we can have an experience with a member of the public that just like throws us into a tizzy, and we're like, oh, flailing, like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? And I'm not saying that happens to everybody, but I can tell you it happened to me in the beginning. And in the only way that I was able to kind of get into the space where this is whatever, I feel grounded, I feel centered, I feel like, you know, in a very neutral space and open, and at the same time shielded, and I don't know how crazy this sounds too. Whoever's listening, I'm not following the chat yet, I'm afraid to. I'm like, man, am I am I going out there too far for some people? I hope not. But look, it's just what it is. And step one, right, step one for me is like actually figuring out the things that get you into that zone of being neutral. I want to say that what a lot of times what we do is we enter like a light alpha state when we're doing tarot readings, and it is just flowing, and because it's flowing, we're just speed reading it. It's just, you know somebody can ask us a question, and we can give them an answer to that question uh, within a minute's time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If you work for some of these services like I do, I never know how long the readings that I do on that service are going to last. I don't, it could be somebody just calling me for a 1 minute reading, or somebody who wants to talk for, an hour long reading, you know. And so I feel like if you can't do that, if you can't give somebody an answer as a reader within like 2 minutes time, 3 minutes time, that's going to be, more common than just the 1 minute time, then it's going to be difficult for you. And it may, kind of create some obstacles on the path to, to your career path that you want to be on, you know. And so let's approach this and say that the cards and our tarot knowledge is always going to be important. That is that's the foundation. It's the foundation of what we do, right? And yet, um, it's just one factor of reading for other people. And you got to figure out what are the things. What are the things that, like, okay, like I don't do readings without wearing this crystal. Now, look, I'm not saying that this crystal is going to work for everybody, but this is just a piece of hematite, okay? And because it has that shiny exterior, right? I think it easy to envision a shield, and I'm talking for empaths, I'm talking for sensitives, psychics, intuitives. It doesn't matter if define yourself in those terms or not, because you're working with the tarot. So, I mean, there's this sense of gateway, let's say. There's a sense of portal with tarot. There's a sense of angels, whatever it is that, is your, pathway around all this, right? I think, we're working on a different level. I think that we're, in the best of times, we're in this altered state, this light alpha state. And so I think protection, that's how I think of it. So that doesn't have to be you wearing a crystal, but whatever is going to give you that sense of feeling like, okay, I'm not going to be like bombarded by energy that I don't want to be taking on, carrying around with me, you know? So that's one way. For somebody else, it might be incense. For somebody else, it might be essential oils. It might be different crystals, but find your thing and make sure you're working your thing. A lot of times we buy crystals and they sit on the shelf and we don't do anything for them. And, they are here, they're our friends, that's just me, which, I do a show about crystals. So I'm a little crystal, licious or whatever, right? But okay, so that's the one thing. You want to have some form of protection. You want to have, and I'm all, I'm all for the placebo theory too. It's like, so it doesn't matter, what you don't have to prove this scientifically and then get it published in a peer-reviewed study. Okay, you don't. You just have to feel it. You have to feel like, I've got my shield up because I've got my hematite on, or whatever that might be for you. Whatever you feel is going to do that for you. And you got the protection. You also, I think, have to find your way of getting to that space of neutrality, to getting to that space of, um, to achieve. It's almost like a meditative state, right? And for me, that's ritual, and I know, like, if, for some people that can be a scary word. That is a word that has been, used in Hollywood a lot, in like really frightening ways at times. But, use the word practice then. Something that says, like, okay, I'm creating sacred space here, okay, in which to do my divination, right? Divination, divine Asian. Think about it. Create the space to do that. And what can be a part of that? Anything can be a part of that. For me, it's the four directions. It's the four watchtower angels. It is guides. It is guardian angel. Uh, there's some other characters thrown in there too sometimes as well. What's my intention, right? And that's the thing. Look, we hear these words all the time. We hear the words of intention and sacred space and shielding, and maybe we don't hear that as much as we should be hearing shielding, but we do that all the time, and I don't know that we're taking it to heart. I mean, people are. I do. I know a lot of others that do too. But I feel like there's a lot of people that are missing, like, the 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 idea of this being like an authentic thing. If you believe in it, like, I believe this hematite crystal is creating like a energetic shield for me, so I don't take on any negativity, or other people's energies, or things that aren't mine, right? If I truly believe it, then it works for me, you know. And if I truly believe, when I'm creating sacred space, that is what I'm doing, and I'm bringing in those energies that I want present around me, or clearing out whatever things I don't want around me, then it's true. And I don't know, maybe that's a philosophical argument that we don't need to get into, like, well, what's reality? But it's just, it has to be true for you, because if it's true for you, then it's an authentic experience, and then you believe it. And with this idea that you're in the sacred space, and that you have some form of, protection, that it's okay to open yourself up to connect with whatever is out there in the public sphere, um, then the confidence comes up, and confidence is an ego, but the confidence rises, and you have this sense of, like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to pull a card, and I know what I'm doing. It's just like, and I'm starting with the question. Okay, you want to know about such and such? Let me pull a few cards. There you go. Okay, you already got, give them an answer in a minute, and then it unfolds from there. You know, you can pull as many cards as you need to, I guess. But it's like, if you don't have that groundedness, that centeredness, that confidence, it's so hard. It's scary. I mean, and look, I'm not speaking for anybody else but myself, but I know it was like kind of a frightening thing to me. And I remember thinking, you know, um, I'm not charging enough money for this. That was my first thought, because what happens is, if anybody else chooses to work on like a service that allows you to set your own rate and all of that, and it's based on your ratings that you get, your feedback that you get, you can really undersell yourself. And if you say like, hey, I'm offering readings for 25 cents, or 50 cents, you're going to get a lot of hassle, because people spend $1 just to, troll somebody, even like on the phone. It's a very strange phenomena. And that kind of experience, it happens rarely. It happened to me a couple times, but it happens rarely. But when it does, I would have this sense of like just defeat, and wanting to withdraw and thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this, and I got to let go of this passion of mine. I've got to let go of this dream of mine. And I don't want anybody to feel like that. And the way that I got through that was like just saying like, okay, that's not going to happen to me again, because I'm going to shield myself. I'm going to protect my energy, and I'm going to create this sacred space, and I'm going to feel like I am doing this sacred work in sacred space. And, I'm going to believe it. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to doubt it. And I'm going to say, gee, am I just kidding myself? Is it just my imagination? Am I making it up? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going all in, and I'm saying like, yes, this is sacred. What I'm doing is sacred. I'm protected. Give me a call. I had to kind of get to that point where I could like feel that way about it. And then another part of it is, of course, the cards themselves. We're talking about all of this stuff. And I know that I called this speed reading the tarot, and I'm like giving you this whole big thing of it that seems like it would take time to do that. But once it's like you do it, and you're creating your own thing, and it's you, and it doesn't take any time. It's like an affirmation. It's like a mantra, except I would say, have a physical component to it if you can, walk the four corners, of your space, if you see it that way, welcome in the four directions, know where they are. I always know where your directions are, and I think that probably sounds really bizarre, but I'm just saying it, right? And but I don't know, because I was into this whole direction thing, and you could get these like, now everybody's familiar with the north, south, east, and west of their location, right? And you can get free, what do you call it, compass apps that you can put on your phone and do it that way. I don't know how accurate they are, but then also it's a great excuse to get like some kind of cool, like old timey compass with a ship on it, right? Um, at least it was for me, good a good excuse to do that. and so now I have a compass that I walk around with, and I don't know, that probably all sounded very strange, but what can I say? It's been 8 years in the U.S. Army, so like I always had a compass then, and I'm like, shouldn't I have one now as well? But that's one way you can do it. You can call in the four directions, whatever they mean to you. If you are familiar with the medicine wheel, that kind of thing, we have our different associations, our different things you can call in. For me, I'm on, I joined the Angelic Alliance is how I look at it. That's my ally, on my team, you could say. But maybe that's something else for you. And maybe it's nothing at all. Maybe you just work with that space and bringing the energy up. So, do all of that. Part of this process can be addressing those. It doesn't have to be, I'm not like preaching any religion here. I'm really not. But I'm saying like, what's meaningful, what's genuine, what are you going to believe and not question? You're creating this. And so then after that, and you're ready to do your readings, you know? And so there's a lot of times that we can get tripped up with the idea of what spread do we use to do our readings. And, you know, like I said, if you choose to work in such a fashion that you don't know exactly how long your readings are going to be for your clients, you know, if you're doing like phone readings, something like that, um, you know, then you want to be able to do something. I'm just rearranging this here. I didn't, you know, like print, like make any handouts to like hold up. So I thought I could do this instead. And plus it's just kind of fun. But I've come up with a spread. I actually call it my telephone spread, right? Where it is 5 cards and they are laid out like that. Whoops, that one sort of, I don't know if I could do this. This is like a little dice tray that I thought, oh, I can use that instead of printing something off. But again, you know, so that's kind of what the 5 card spread looks like. Okay. And the first card that I lay down, I call it my telephone spread, is the middle card. Okay. And in this case, that's the 3 of Wands. And this is the miniature, no kidding, right? Really miniature Llewellyn Classic tarot deck. And whoops, I guess I'm tilting it. I didn't tape them in place or whatever. But, you know, so the first card I lay down in this is the middle card, 3 of Wands. You know, and to me, what that position indicates is kind of the central focus card, the what is this about, what's the boom, you know, main gist of the answer of the person, you know, of the question the person asked. And then the next card is to the left, and in this case, I'll tell you, this was just such a bad idea, right? It's like we can see it unfolding, you know, before us, that not taping these cards down or not printing something off was a bad idea. Sorry about that. But anyways, in this case, it's the Hanged Man. And so that's card number 2. And that represents like, okay, you know, what is this question, you know, just coming out of? You could call it the past position, but I think that that's just too, you know, maybe past influences, because it's showing up because it's still connected to what's going on right now, you know. So I look at it that way. It's like, where is it coming from? And then the third card, of course, is on the right, and in this case, the 9 of Pentacles, the card of the self-made woman. uh, and that's like, where are we headed? Where, what direction, you know, what's next, what's up? It's, you can say future position. And if you know, if you don't necessarily, I say future influences, you know, nothing's set in stone, you know. It's like we're on a path, everybody's on a path, you know. That's my feeling. And so, you know, the next card, so that's the first one in the middle there. And then the past influences, that's the central focus in the middle. The past influences, this is ever going to work right if I hold this right. And then the future influences, what's our likely, you know, direction we're heading in, what's next along the thing. And then I put a card underneath at the bottom of this little, I'm going to try and just hold it with my fingers. The card at the bottom is card number 4. And that's like, what's in the basement to me, you know. It's like, what's the underlying issue, what's being pushed down under that other energy, what might even, we could say, be repressed with it. And again, you know, all of this is in relation to the question that we're asked. And then the final card is the top card right up there. And that to me is like the atmosphere, you know, situations and people. We're all involved by, you know, circumstances, environment, you know. That's what I consider the atmosphere. Or, you know, what's above everything, what's the thing that, you know, is kind of, you know, hanging over the situation. And so, like, it's really simple. It's 5 cards. You can lay out 5 cards in a very, very short period of time. And you can look at these cards because you've already done all those other steps. You've created your sacred space, all of that, going through whatever ritual that you create that is genuine to you, authentic for you, that you believe and don't question, you know, then that helps get you in that light alpha state. That helps get you in the zone. And you can pull these cards and you could just say, like, okay, um, you look at those five and say, this is a question about, it could very well be a question about somebody's career. And maybe, we can see right away with an outcome like the Nine of Pentacles that, things are getting better. Things are getting a lot better, right? It may take a little time with the Three of Wands in the center. It's something that maybe we feel like we've been stuck, hung up with the Hanged Man, and so on and so on and so on. Six of Swords, smooth sailing. It's heading down a great way. And so that's just an example of how those cards could be read. A lot of you might not agree with anything I said there and said, what? She said the Six of Swords is what? Ask 50 different tarot readers will give you 50 different keywords, right? But, the thing is like, that's what I mean, is like, it's not the, well, this is a number six, and sixes are about harmony. They're about balance, and it's not the, okay, well, in the, uh, astrological, in the constellation of Pisces, whatever it is, all of these different things that we learn, it's important to learn them. It informs everything, but it's really can slow us down and being able to give readings and have people want another reading later on from us. We want it to be an experience that doesn't stress us out or stress the client out. And I know that sounds really odd, but that can happen when you feel you're waiting for somebody to reach for something. And but look, I do want to touch on that stuff a little bit, because I want to share one other thing here that was really helpful for me to become somebody who can speed read the tarot and give somebody an answer like that. And that is taking all of those things, right? Taking all of the numerology and the astrological correspondences, and even like, little bit more, peppering things here and there. Reading every book that I can, we're starting off with 78 Degrees of Wisdom, reading my dear friend James Rickliff's Soul's Journey book that made me just cry. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I can still cry after reading it a couple times. All of those things, even, kind of off the, beaten path, concepts. Or, for me, I was somebody who was like, wow, the Golden Dawn, like, oh my God, and I'm like, okay, I got to learn the opening of the key spread. This is what I want to do. And, and I even found a way to speed up that, streamline that, which was, I didn't know, it was like a weird thing that happened that was so cool, but that was years ago. I don't remember, it off the top of my head anymore. But what I'm saying is that excitement that we have of being exposed to the grand, huge world of tarot, and we're trying to remember it all. We're writing down keywords. We're doing all of those things, and it's a lot. It's a lifetime. So what I would recommend, this is something I did, why ever I did it, I don't know. But I found, a cute little plastic box, and I got, these cards that are probably about the size of, I think they're the size of like florists cards. If you order flowers, and you can, send a, hey, baby, card to them, about whatever. I hope you know what I mean. When people send flowers and a message. But what I did was I got a whole stack of these, And I'm telling you, this has been through a lot of stuff. This was pretty beat up. I, I've had this for years, but it changed my life. And it made all of those things that I really so desperately wanted to completely, have accessible in my brain and mastered, and, just have a encyclopedia, knowledge of tarot, that I could just access anything like that. I created this tool for myself to help me do that. And these are actually, so I took these little cards and I printed off labels and I color coded them. Like, that's red for the wands, suit in the minor arcana. And, I did blue stickers there for, the cups cards, the water element. I did yellow stickers for air, the air element swords, and then green for earth, our pentacles or coins suits. And in addition to that, so for all of that, and then the major arcana was totally plain. And the reason that I think that, and people have like their cheat sheets, and they have, reams and reams of paper, we have, stacks and stacks of journals, right? With our tarot journaling that, helped us, study all of these things. But there's something to me that really helped about having it like accessible and putting it all in a little box and just like a Rolodex, and because they were color coded, could easily go and say, oh yeah, King of Swords. I just want to like remember that. And so what is it that I wanted to remember about the King of Swords? Um, I have, some numerology in there with him, that's a little bit different. People, you know, um, do numerology with the court cards differently. My co-host on the Tarot Today show, Dax, has an incredible way of doing it that's really, really cool. But this I wrote down 10 years ago when I decided I'm going to start going part-time, and, going to create a tool to help me like get up to speed where I feel like comfortable to read for other people. And that also, it's just like flippity flip, it's right there. So the King of Swords, I assigned number 51 to him. And I can't say 10 years later I even like acknowledge that when I read the King of Swords. So some things fall by the wayside, right? And other things come in. The longer that we do this, the more that we do it, and that confidence builds and everything. But I said he was connected to facts, and yet since he was a king, he could take the initiative. But he was challenging. It was the air element. He had an active mind, and he was associated with the time frame of January 10th to February 8th. A positive meaning for the King of Swords was you have wisdom. A neutral meaning for the King of Swords was deal with the facts. And a negative meaning was overthinking brings paranoia. You know? And I don't know. I don't know why I settled on those three specific meanings. I was very much influenced by the books I read by Paul Foster Case, and I think it was from him where it was like that crystal clear idea to me that like what you need to do is you need to have an understanding, or just kind of feel for what happens when that card is like neutralized by its surrounding cards, or positively impacted by other cards, or maybe negatively. We can say negatively, some things are negatively impacted. I know some people try to stay away from the word, but I don't have time for that. But I get it. It's cool. I'm cool with you. But that was the idea. Three of those meanings that would give you an idea of like, okay, they're being impacted by the surrounding cards. Maybe if you're reading elemental dignities, that kind of thing. And so I had those things that I typed out, and then over the years, I wrote all kinds of little weird little things on here. The Voyager deck by James Wells, right? Created the Voyager deck, and he described the King of Swords as a man of crystals. Um, the sage, the knower, all of these things. Osho said it, the Osho Zen deck said it was about control. So all these different decks and they have these different takes on the card, and the guidebooks are like really, you're hearing something different than you don't usually hear about a card. The ones that resonated with me, and this was my approach to the, with some of the modalities like astrology. I'm not an astrologist. I can't do it. It's too much math. Like geometry, I can't do it. But there were things about it that I've learned over the years that have really resonated, and those are the things I remember. Sometimes they're the things I put on these cards 10 years ago, and sometimes they're not, and that's okay too. But doing this, creating this little tactile tool that I could access quickly and flip through, and not have to stare at and study, made such a big difference for me, in order to like just get the flow going, and just all this stuff. It's like using flashcards. It's like, you're going to remember it, so don't worry about whether you remember it or not, and just look at the cards. You've already got all of that up there. You can do all these things. You don't have to you know do it exactly the way I'm suggesting to do it. I'm just sharing what worked for me. But if you can get yourself into that neutral, grounded, balanced state, and that light alpha state, and just like, you can access all of that without thinking about it. So it's like, and of course, intuition, always a part of our every waking life, in some ways, I think. But I feel like this is more, it's more like instinctual, in a sense. It's like, you're not you know doing anything to, like, try to focus on that. You're not trying to contact anybody, if that's your process anyways. Of course, it's fine. I don't think that anybody has to change how they fundamentally read to like speed up their reading, so that they can really kind of reach that level where they're really confident in what they're doing. Because then, to me, that's where it becomes really fun. I mean, I think tarot readings are always fun anyway, but I also feel that there's something about joining the flow of the universe, and I feel that, like, if we can just like do that and do it quickly, it's just like we're having a conversation. It's just like we're having a conversation with our client anyways, or maybe we're having a conversation with ourselves, or maybe we're having a conversation with the deck. But and the thing about this idea of this, so look, everybody's seen a lot of five. This is just, I hope you really get the idea of what I'm talking about. The middle card's the first one, then the past influences, the future influences, what's going on in the basement, and what's in the skies above, the atmosphere, what do the clouds look like up here, in that case with the Page of Swords. You don't have it, like, I call it a layered deck reading, a layered spread, rather. And that is because, like, say you have a reading that starts off with that simple question about career or whatever, and then it kind of goes longer than you're expecting it to, and they want to know more about it, and they start asking other questions. And even though these are questions surrounding the topic, and what I do is, I've never had to go up more than 3 layers. I just do the spread again on top of each other. And then what happens is, for each position, then you wind up with 3 cards, right? You wind up with 3 cards here. And what happens when we have three tarot cards together? I mean, to me, what happens is we have a full sentence. We have a beginning, middle, and end. We have all these things coming together, and maybe that's different all the time. So what do we have here? We have the 10 of Wands, the Hanged Man, and the 7 of Wands. Does that tell the story? This is coming from the past influences. Like, what story does that tell to you? Together now, and just boom, really fast. Sometimes we try to do too much, and we end up getting delayed. Us, trying to take everything on sometimes can set us back, and then we find ourselves where it's like we're in this position where we've got to kind of defend ourselves, stand up for ourselves. That's one way of looking at those cards. Everybody's going to have their own interpretation, but I would love everybody to be able to get to the point where they can do that, and you could have that fast fire kind of back and forth, and you're just in the stream. It's almost like a stream of consciousness, right? But it's this stream of tarot consciousness, and so you're just flying through it. And I think that practicing that way, trying to find your own way, creating your space and centering and grounding and getting into that light alpha, that this total neutrality. You're not attached to any outcome. You're not rooting for any cards. Any card that comes up is not going to throw you off like the death card. Like that's not going to happen, because it's like you're just there. And so I don't even know how teachable this method is, in a sense, because of all those other things that are involved in it, rather than just reading the darn cards, right? But I cannot stress how essential those things, learning to do that, and figuring it out, in a way that was authentic. And for me, I can't tell you how invaluable that is. That's why I can do what I love now, you know? Um, and so I just wanted to share that, and it doesn't have to stop. It can get as elaborate as you want. You can create altars if you want to. You can have, you can create a fairy meeting place. You can, have a unicorn crossing. You can have all these things going on. You can hang out at the beach, and just something. And like, here's a bizarre idea, and I know that everybody's really into tarot cards here, right? Obviously we're all doing this Tarothon, and again, I think this is so amazing that all these people are here, and it's so late at night. I love you guys. I didn't know who was going. I thought I was going to be here to tell you the truth, right? I'm like, I got a strange topic, and I've never done this before, and yeah. But another thing that I think is kind of fun is this, and I'm going to give you two things. This has to do with crystals, is what I'm alluding to. It's like, I know it's not exactly tarot, but it's all a part of it for me. And so I created this bucket. Please don't let me spill this all over my computer. But I created this bucket of crystals, and basically carnelian and citrine and green, fluorite octahedrons, and all these different stones that I put together in these chakra crystal heat helper kits that I create. Tiger eye. And what I like to do, the reason they're in a basket, and I'm saying this is part of the process, is it feels incredible. If you just soak your hands in it, like you're soaking in palm olive, just for a couple minutes, and you have like some basic inexpensive tumbled stones in there, and it just feels so nice, and you're giving yourself like this nice energy bath. You're giving your hands the nice energy bath. Okay, and why would we do that, right? Because it's like, I don't know why we would do that, but it's a good idea to do that. I think it really helps a lot. I don't know, it helps me, it energizes me, it cleanses the thing, and I'm ready to answer another card, and take another call, and do another reading. And if you don't want to go the full bucket of crystals, right, then this has been an invaluable tool. When I do readings at psychic fairs and stuff, I do not show up there without my halite, salt, rock, crystal. I have a crystal lamp, so inexpensive, so easy. And what does salt do? Salt is cleansing, protective, gets rid of stuff. And so I'm washing my hands. Why am I washing my hands? Because I use them to shuffle my cards. And so I want to know that, like, Look, we could spend a lot of time arguing about whether or not our cards pick up energy, whether or not we need to cleanse them and charge them and bury them in the backyard with a bunch of herbs and whatever. I think we all do what is authentic for us. I hope we're doing what's authentic for us. Please, please, whatever that is, you know. But I just feel like if you if you don't have an approach for this, then consider this. It's inexpensive. I'm not preaching about crystals. Oddly enough, I probably am preaching about crystals and just don't realize it because I'm like just so out, in my own space. But just inexpensive salt. You cleanse your hands. You can touch your cards. Another practice that I've come up with, which is just over the moon, but I do feel that it is part of this crystal, uh, enhancement of my sacred space and my practice and reading cards and speed reading the tarot is because there is no working deck of mine, meaning decks that I work with every day, that doesn't have its own crystal with it, and it's always might be some other stones thrown in there, but it's always a clear quartz that I've programmed to keep my deck cleansed and charged, right? It sits in its little bag with it. And usually what I do, and nobody has to do anything like this at all, but I just want to say I put a crystal howlite, isn't that fun? Howlite. Howlite crystal. This is my crystal howlite angel. It's the white stone with the lines through it like turquoise. And in fact, howlite is often used to fake turquoise by being dyed. You can, a lot of people can tell the difference, right? But, a lot of people can't. And anyways, but for me, I love that. But that salt lamp crystal that I was talking about, the rock salt crystal howlite, Halite. So you think of Howl at the Moon with the white stone, and Hal from 2001 Space Odyssey for the salt stone, whatever. And then, I have my own other little thing, and it, for me, it's like I have this angelic thing, going on. And so, I got one of these little things. I got it on Amazon. It was like $3, $4. It's like in a, it's like not resin, right? It's some sort of heavy, clear plastic substance. I'm not sure what it is exactly. And I have a little teeny tiny piece of bitwinite. Look at that lovely champagne color. And it's such a cool little stone. Comes from Canada. And one of my all-time favorites, of course, just a little piece of seraphonite. Check it out. Do you see that? You see that in the stone? Now what do you see in the stone? Aha! The wonders of seraphonite, right? I can do that all day. I often do those kind of things all day long. And holy cow, for whatever reason, tonight I have just a ton of pieces of seraphonite. And I don't even know. But look, all of this. So, look, I'm excited about these things. You may not be excited about seraphonite. It may be something else. You may not even be excited. More seraphonite. I just love it. I just love it. Do you see that? Are you looking at that? Do you see that? What do you see? You see that guy smiling at you with a weird hat? An owl, maybe? An angel this time, and you turn it the other way. Maybe you're driving a chariot. These things get me in the zone, right? Crystal that you can look at, because what are we doing? We're shifting. We're shifting our focus, and we're getting into that light alpha state, and that really makes all the difference in the world. I think it has for me. And so I just kind of feel like it doesn't really matter what the little details are, because that's the part that's going to make it authentic to you. That's what's going to make it personal for you. And once you've done all this other stuff that doesn't have anything to do with shuffling a deck of cards, you do that first. You go to your deck, and we have a few minutes left here, and I'm gonna drop the bombshell, okay? that I don't know if anybody's gonna like this idea or not, right? But I have a lot of decks that I call my working decks, right? And like, okay, so tonight, I have the Mystical Manga tarot deck by Barbara Moore, who, there's her Queen of Cups. Oh my God, I love that. This deck is just gorgeous to me. But you know, every night I'm not doing readings with the Mystical Manga deck, because I ask my decks, I interview them before I sit down to read, and ask them, are you going to be, can I count on you to be a reliable and accurate? Well, we all want to be accurate. I think it's, if you want to do this for a living, accuracy counts. It does. And that's not a scary thing. That's a natural thing if you get into that alpha state. And I just, it's just my opinion. It's just my feeling on it. But I'll ask the deck, may I, can I count on you to be an accurate and helpful reading deck for me tonight? Something along those lines. And I pull like 3 cards on the question. Sometimes I'll pull 5 cards. And I just feel like the way I approach it, if I don't like the cards that come up on that question of like, is this deck really going to have my back tonight? Then I'm going to move on to another deck until I get one that I feel like, okay, it wants to work with me. I want to work with them. And I know I'm like, almost like, what would you call it? It's almost like promorphizing here, giving the deck, these, human characteristics or whatever. And I'm not preaching anything like that, except that, I don't know, it's kind of like that, sometimes it can be. It is for me. And if it is for you, and that sounds way out there, I mean, that is what it is, man. If it's like you're not picking up what I'm throwing down, that's totally cool too. But seriously, once you, like, if you do that, right, and you have this feeling like, this deck has my back, it's going to help me out, I can trust it. I can trust that the cards that come up are the cards that should come up, and they're accurate. They have something to say that is the absolute, best answer you could hope for as a reader, to be able to address the question that your sitter, your client, is asking. So that, again, this confidence idea, and it's not like an arrogance thing, like I am like impervious now. It's more like I'm solid. I'm like, all aligned up and down with my chakras, my chakras. So, that's kind of it, and you can use the 5-card spread that I showed you. You could do like up to 3 layers like that, and, really kind of get more in depth and more in depth as you want to. But, use your own spread too, but set the stage for it. And you're going to be speed reading the tarot after that, because it's just going to be like accessible. All of your knowledge. Find an easy, accessible way to like start, flashcarding through that knowledge, because it's going to stick. It's going to stick, and it's going to be accessible when you need it to be. Anyways, oh my gosh, I feel like, I don't know, that I sort of rambled. I don't know, it's like almost, and the time is up already. So, I will read through the chat room, because, oh my gosh, I totally zoned out on the chat room. Afterwards, I appreciate you so much for coming here and listening to this today. I hope something was interesting. Thank you, Simon, so much for letting me be able to participate in this incredible event, the Global Tarothon 2020. And so you want to look in the description, and at the bottom, the next channel After me is Science of the Soul Tarot with Jen. You want to click on the link there. And so, do that. And I'll probably, I'm going to go do that too. And thank you so much for taking the time to share this moment and this hour. And I think that's it for me. Thanks again, and I'll look at the chat comments and respond to them. There's so many of them, and I don't have glasses on, and I probably should. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.